Otherwise, the session is being recorded. Hopefully, it's going to be edited for the guy that commented last week and said, I must fire my editor. I don't have an editor, guys. That's why these videos are unedited, because it takes a lot of effort and it's time sensitive. Otherwise, let's do the things to be done. Let's do the things to be done. So we're going to get into some AC. So AC, all we're going to do is just reference higher time frame structure because we do it every week. So we've just got an impulse here. We've got our corrective structure over here. So just based off context, we've got momentum to the upside. We've got a corrective structure. Price is still inside of this corrective structure. If we look at isolating the corrective structure, or at least trying to figure out what kind of a corrective structure we've got here, it's a descending structure, right? So we just take into account our extreme lows. We've got a touch there. We've got a touch there. We slap on our trend line there, and you guys can see where price action is now. We're towards the low of the support trend line. So it makes more sense for us to be looking for longs instead of shorts. I think I was even saying this in one of the one-on-one sessions that I was having this week, that when you're looking, aside from us just picking a directional bias and saying, okay, I'm going to be a buyer, whatever the case is, yes, remember that when you're trading, you're going to be taking a risk, right? And for you to be able to take that risk, the reward also needs to make sense, right? So let's just also look at this in terms of risk to reward ratio. If we go back to our reasonings, right? Our reasonings for us looking for longs and all the stuff that we mentioned last week, this is the last momentum on a daily that pushed to the downside. Obviously, we're at support. That's why we're looking for longs. I want to teach you guys something, and then at the same time, we're doing the analysis. So let's just go down to the 4 hours. So for the analysis, we are bullish just based off what we spoke about. But let me just keep on that tangent before we lose it. So nonetheless, when we're looking at our 4 hour, this was the last move that managed to break our level of structure. This was the last push to the downside that managed to break a level of support over there. So obviously this is our extreme high and this is our extreme low. If you guys are looking at taking the risk, right? Remember, that's what we're talking about now. When you're looking to enter, ask yourself this question, right? If I were to enter where the market is now, where's my major resistance and where's my major support? Where do I need to get out of this market? Where do I need to exit this trade? If you are looking to be a seller, yes, the market is trending to the downside, right? We're making lower lows, lower highs, all that nice, good stuff. If you're looking to be a seller, where do you need to be out of the market? You need to be out of the market at this major support over here. So look at your risk to reward ratio looking to be a seller. Now, if obviously you are going to be a buyer, there's your next major level of structure over there. So you're looking to get out at that major resistance over there, because this is the range that we're currently finding ourselves inside of. So look at the risk reward ratio. Even in terms of RR, it makes a lot more sense for us to align ourselves in the bullish direction, bullish side of things, because of the structure, or at least because of the context. Where is price action now, and what decisions can we make based off where price action is now? So basically what I was just saying, all of this whole lot of talking was just to tell you guys that when you're taking a risk, also look at your reward. Is the trade worth you taking it in the first place? This was last week. Last week we did so basically in accordance with everything that we were looking for. We were looking for bullish bias and all of that stuff. This is a POI that price action didn't give me the entry. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were looking at this corrective structure to try and get back in. First touch, second touch. We're expecting a third touch at this POI here and looking to get in there on a smaller time frame. Price action came back to that POI sometime last week. I think this was Tuesday. Oh, this week was an eventful week. Out of all the weeks, trading was happening this week again. I felt like a trader again. Didn't exercise a lot of patience. But anyway, this is one of the trades from last week, something that we spoke about. So we're adjusting for structure and obviously accommodating. We can see that this position didn't follow through. And by the way, on AC, I did take my full L because I wasn't here to watch the chart. I couldn't manage and whatever the case was. But anyway, it is what it is. So we're adjusting for the structure, right? Adjusting for the structure, we can see that we've got this. We can maybe assume that it is momentum, but we did not break any major levels of structure, right? We didn't create a new higher high. We didn't give ourselves a new resistance. But nonetheless, all I'm looking at is I'm looking at the nature of how price action is doing what it's doing. We broke resistance here. We came back. We treated it as support, right? We broke resistance again. And then you can see after we broke this resistance, we entered some sort of corrective price action where every support we had, we violated, we broke back above, as well as the support we broke below, broke back above. This support over here, we broke below, broke back above. And then obviously last week, I thought this was my third touch of my structure because I had analyzed like this. isolated a smaller structure over there. Obviously, now we're just adjusting for the new structure. So yeah, cool. That was the entry. Let's get into next week. What are we doing next week? Keep on going back because this position here just frustrates me to have not managed, because I know I could have made something on this position. But anyway, looking at what we've got now, right? We've still got this support over here. Obviously, we cannot use this POI anymore. We can even delete it because it's not necessary for us anymore. Let's just do this. Cool. There we go. So looking at the context structure, price action, we've got this support, right? We're still inside of this corrective structure over there. The safest thing for us to do now, if we're going to be looking for any type of maybe a risk entry or whatever the case is wait for price action to come back down towards the low. Obviously, you guys can see there's confluence where we have this horizontal support. Obviously, it's going to be support. Oh, well, we can already assume price action did test it already once. We've got this horizontal support, and then as well as we've got this support trend line here that are converging somewhere in and around this area here. So we've got multiple reasons why someone that's looking to buy would be looking to buy at this area over here. So all I'm going to do is we'll see if we get an opportunity to buy a little bit lower. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen and price action doesn't come low for the good buy, obviously there's much better risk to reward ratio going long from down here. If that does not happen, then all we've got to do is we've got a support over here that obviously price action has broken below, broken back above. We can come back to retest this. Obviously, if we come for a corrective retest, then we're going to be trading based off nature's theory. Obviously, looking at our corrective structure for a retest there. But the safest thing for us to be doing in this case is wait for price action to break above a level of structure or break a level of structure in the direction we're trading or looking to trade. So if price action keeps going, let it break resistance. And once we've broken resistance, then we can isolate whatever momentum shifts we have there, whether we assume that's a momentum shift, whether maybe this current red candlestick might be a momentum shift in the future, whatever the case is, then we can isolate a level of structure, I mean a momentum shift, or we wait for price action to then come back to this level of structure to trade at. So the safest thing, wait for a new higher high. The little bit less safe thing is we wait for a correction, obviously, and we still trade anywhere at these lows over here. So we're still 100% bullish on AC. Let's hope that this week, if we do find an entry, she follows through. Let's go on to some AU. So AU, let me do this. Why do I still have AU marked out? Because AU is going to require some patience from us, but just think about AC. So I'm not going to spend too much time on AU because AC is giving us similar structure. But we've got the momentum over here. We've got a corrective structure. We're still somewhat inside of this corrective structure, but information that we can get here is that here's our low on a daily. We broke and closed below. We broke and closed back above. We broke back below. So obviously, price action is being corrective around this support. So naturally, when I'm going down on my smaller time frame, I'm looking for a corrective structure that is going to be forming inside, inside of here, because already price action is showing me I am being corrective, or at least price action is being corrective around our levels of structure. Even if we look at the support trend line, we broke and closed below, we broke and closed back above. So obviously price action is correcting around this support trend line over here, and we're not being impulsive. There's no impulsive price action at the support trend line. So based off that information, we're going to be bullish over the space of next week, going down to a 4 hour. 4 hour, we're still stuck inside of this range. Yeah, hey, I was wishing that I got into this sell here because it was just so clear. But then obviously we would have been going against our directional bias, which is obviously bullish. So we exercise patience and we just wait. We just wait because patience does pay in this game. Otherwise, we've got our resistance over there, our support over there. Since we want to be bullish, safest thing for us to do is wait for price action and obviously make our decisions based off this support trend line. Now, if you guys remember, what we were looking at or potentially looking at from last week was, because we did see price action was correcting to the upside, we expected that, okay, maybe we might come back for another push down. But what we were looking for was, we weren't really looking for an opportunity at this support trend line in terms of maybe like the support being support. But what we were more so looking for was for price action to actually break below this support, and then obviously break back above this support, and then we come back for a corrective retest. This was the setup that we were kind of looking for last week. So I think maybe let's just continue to exercise this patience. The reason why I'm waiting for this is because this is a dollar-based pair, and Yeah, there's a lot of freaky stuff going on with the dollar right now. Just specifically with the dollar. As much as the stock market is talking, there's a war going on the other side in terms of just USD. Investors are trying to strengthen the dollar when everything is saying that the dollar should be weakening right now. So there's a war, psychological war going on. But anyway, let's go on to the next pair. New Zealand dollar CAD will go up on a daily. At least on this pair, I caught something last week. So she made up for AC not playing out. But anyway, everything was to the T. If you guys followed last week's weekly market forecast, everything was just to the T. If you scale down the time frames, everything was just amazing. Yes. But otherwise, AC, we've got momentum, we've got corrective structure over there. The support trend line in our corrective structure, we saw we broke below, broke back above, broke below, broke back above. So what we're doing is we're looking at this new thing that's forming over here as some big corrective structure or something new that's forming, something that's different from this thing here that formed over here. But nonetheless, looking at the context, where are we? Support trend line, price action is being corrective as we're moving down, breaking lows, breaking back above those lows. And as well as on a daily, you guys can see we've got this nice momentum shift over there where we see some sort of a bullish engulfing. So we're at an area where we saw or previously at least, someone decided to buy aggressively. Where are we here? Here we're at our support trend line. So all that context, we're nice and bullish over the course of next week. Let's go down to a 4-hour, see the stuff a little bit more clearly. So anyway, on a 4-hour, basically we were at support. Last week, if you guys remember, we were waiting for a break of our structure, obviously for that reduced risk entry or the risk entry when price action taps inside of here. Now, I didn't find any risk entry down low at the third touch or whatever. Maybe I was too slow, whatever. I didn't find any entry over there. But nonetheless, price action did break a resistance, a level of structure along the way. She did leave 2 POIs over there. So if we just look at that, the first POI, I did take a nice sweet L on there. Obviously, we did tap in, we moved away, but there was no follow through. Cool, all and well, be it. But there was another trade a little bit lower that coincided with what? This level of structure here, that price action broke below, broke back above, and at a later date in time, we can come back to retest. The same thing happens with all the concepts that we're using. Doesn't matter what time frame. Obviously, I always teach the guys that there's a structure. How we use each time frame is supposed to give us a specific piece of information. We know just by looking at the time frame, or at least based off what time frame I'm on, I'm not changing the concepts that I'm using. I'm only going to forever okay, let me not say forever, but I only use 3 concepts to make sense of the information and to make decision. We use candlestick theory, number 1. That's the only thing that we use. Number 2, we use market structure. That's the only thing that we use. Number 3, and last one, we use nature's theory. Those 3 concepts are well more than enough for me to make a decision that is profitable in this market, minus whatever smart money, order blocks, what chalks and all those things, minus all of that will fit inside here. Candlestick theory, I guess, will have everything that's got to do with your execution. Nature's theory will give you everything that's got to do with your timing. Done and dusted, you now are a professional trader because you've learned and mastered these 3 concepts. But otherwise, let's go back to what we were doing. We were on the 4-hour, so we're basically bullish. Let me hide this. Just so that we can see what's going on inside of here. Cool. So over the space of next week, I even feel like I want to delete all of this, but it's too late now. So over the space of next week, on a 4-hour, obviously, we don't have any nice momentum shift that we can use to trade over here. So obviously, we'll have to go down on a smaller time frame to look for that. But we still have context. We've tapped into our higher time frame momentum shift or POI, whatever you want to call it. And obviously, we've got momentum moving to the upside. This momentum has managed to break a level of structure. This is our extreme high. We rejected. We didn't break impulsively. It's a wick, but we did give a new higher high. Even if you're looking at this high here, we did break this high. So we've got momentum moving in our direction. Now, obviously, we don't jump on the train while it's moving. We're not trying to our trading opportunity, or at least our trading plan, should be there to help us get in before the momentum comes. Obviously, while the market is moving, we're sitting on our hands. The next thing that we can do is wait, exercise patience, and let's see if we get a reduced risk entry. Now, obviously, the first thing that we're going to be looking at, since there's no POI, is we wait for some nature's theory. We wait for a corrective structure, obviously, that gives us maybe a third touch or inverse head and shoulders, or whatever the case is, that then gives us probabilities to be able to take a long. If we don't see that, then what I think I would be waiting for, or something that's just a little bit safer, is let's wait for price action to break this resistance over here, give ourselves a new higher high above this resistance. So we continue above this resistance, and once we break above this resistance, then we can use this area here as a retest area. So this level of structure here that price action now broke below, in form of all of this correction here that broke below this level of structure. Obviously, once we do give a new higher high, we can come back to retest this level of structure for continuation to the upside. So we're still bullish. It's just a little bit confusing now because there are no PRIs, nothing solid for us to work with, but we've got a directional bias. What we need to wait for is just for a chart pattern that gives us entry long. Simple as that. Let's go on to some NASDAQ. NASDAQ was a little bit frustrating last week. US30 was so much nicer than NASDAQ. But yeah, anyway, I guess the world is deciding to crash and burn for real this time, not faking us, giving us. But anyway, we can't be 100% sure because NASDAQ is chopping right now. We're still in chop. So if we just take into account context, maybe let's just look at the daily just so I can show you guys this last move to the downside. If you guys, oh, maybe we do need to look at the whole higher time frame. Cool. So context, maybe from a higher time frame, we've got resistance here that we've broken above this resistance, we've broken back below this resistance. So already what I know that is price is giving me something corrective here because we are being corrective around this resistance area over there. So I've already got, like, I've already primed myself that when I'm looking at price action on a smaller time frame inside of here, I'm not picking a solid directional bias, right? Price is not really buying, it's not really selling. But what I'm going to be doing is looking for a place where I can then create probabilities for myself inside of this sideways moving market, or this correction that's happening here. Nonetheless, let's just go into the most recent price action. So most recent price action, right? Most recent price action, we've got momentum to the upside, clear momentum. I know for a fact that this momentum is hype, but anyway, it did cause, or at least it did create price action on the chart. So we can't ignore the fact that maybe the hype will continue to move to the upside. So anyway, looking at things here on a higher time frame, all I want to see, or at least all that's important to me now, is this major support. I wanted to grab this major support over here and this major resistance over here. Obviously, the closer we get to the support, the less we can be sellers, the more we need to be buyers. And then as well as maybe if you want to isolate, try and figure out what is price action doing here, since we did create a new lower high and a new lower low, but we did so correctively. Maybe price action is giving us a correction for continuation to the upside. I won't put my money where my mouth is on this, but I will put my money where my mouth is on a sell. I just don't know how the sell is going to come for us right now, considering what we see on the chart now, but maybe we can just exercise patience and ignore the buys if that's the case. But nonetheless, we've got momentum to the downside. Obviously, we can see that price action is pushing now. Where we're pushing down towards, we're pushing down towards support. So I think maybe for NASDAQ, it's not so clear. But what we can do is then just pay attention to two things, right? When we come closer to the support, we ask ourselves two questions. Question number one, how did price action come here? Did we come here impulsively? Did we come here correctively? Because that's going to be giving you context as to what's going on. Question number two, after you ask yourself, how did we get here? Ask yourself, what is price action doing here? And those two things will be more than enough for you to either align yourself bullish or maybe just continue to hope, like me, that price action will just do something, give you a correction, continuation, and continue to just fall and crash hard. Yeah, hey, we long overdue for the sales. We long overdue. But NASDAQ, I don't know. I guess pick your pick, whichever directional bias you want to take, and then do what you need to do. But I don't really have a directional bias here. I think maybe I'm gonna sit out of NASDAQ for next week. Maybe just because of where we are now and the fact that we're coming down to a major support impulsively. Yeah, we'll see what changes. But US30, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more interesting than NASDAQ because she's actually dropping. She's actually dropping. So context, told you guys that the cell looks, let's see what you guys are saying there in the chat. When you're done analyzing, please can you show me where to find trading patterns? Sure, no stress, no stress. So here in US30, right? US30 looks a little bit nicer than NASDAQ in terms of trying to find the sell. But then also, right now, where price action is, we're literally at support. So we know we can't be trying to sell right here because we're at support. Otherwise, let's just do the analysis and we chop up. So we've got this major high over here. Price action came, gave us an ascending structure. We broke above this high. We broke back below this high. Obviously, we came back for a young retest there. And now we've got some momentum to the downside. So what I would like to do is I would like to just try and follow through. Hopefully the cells just keep following through because that's the direction that I want to align myself, at least on US30. NASDAQ is a little bit confusing. But looking at structure based off what we've got here, price action, obviously, we've got some new momentum, right? Inside of this new momentum, you guys can see we broke below a couple of lows. So dropping down on my smaller time frames, obviously, where am I looking? Or if I'm looking for momentum shifts on my smaller time frame, I'm going to be trying to look for momentum shifts that allow me to get a retest of this previous support as a resistance. Because context, where am I right now? Right now, I'm at support. I should be looking to buy at support. I can't be looking to sell at support. So for me to be able to sell, I need to come or wait for price action to come to a place where I expect sellers to be making decisions. I expect sellers to be making decisions at a previous support, now turned resistance. Now we drop down onto our smaller time frames. I don't know if we'll drop below the 1 hour. I think the 1 hour will be the lowest. Geez, there's no POI here on a 1 hour. There is no POI here on a 1 hour. So what do we do? So what do we do? So what do we do? Do we exercise patience? Let's just drop to a 15 and see if there's a POI there. Ooh, kind of high, but there is a POI for us to work with on a 15. Kind of high. We can use this POI here on a 15. So obviously, if we go back up to maybe our hourly or 4 hourly or whatever the case is, that momentum shift that we found on a 15 inside of there somewhat does align with previous support that we've just broken below. So obviously, the safest place for me to want to look for downside continuation would be up there. Otherwise, if things are very bad or as bad as I'm hoping they're going to get, and price action is going to impulse very sharply, then on our 15s, because obviously during the week when we're trading on those smaller time frames, on our 15s, on our smaller time frames, let's look for chart patterns, expanding structures, whatever the case is, corrections. We'll try and follow through on the downside momentum on those. But next week, if price doesn't move from this support, let's not try and be a seller at this support here. It just doesn't make sense from higher time frame perspective. I think I'm 100% done. I'm 100% done with the session. I have this set up from last week. This if you guys remember what we said last week, the two scenarios that we were looking for was scenario number one. I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember scenario number one. I don't remember what scenario number one, but I know that there was two scenarios that we were looking for. Oh, I think the first scenario was maybe that price action would give us some sort of a chart pattern or something inside of here for us to trade to the downside. I think that was probably maybe the first scenario. But the second scenario played out so perfectly. A level of structure, we break above, break back below, and come back to retest for downside continuation. So perfectly. I don't even want to waste my time speaking about this setup. Go watch last week's weekly market forecast and see exactly what we said. and it played out just like a textbook, honestly, textbook setups. I hope the market just keeps doing what it's doing now, because like I was sharing with you guys last week, it's either fundamentals that are going to be the main mover of the price action, or technicals. One of these two are going to be in control. Sometimes it's half and half, sometimes it's 70-30, whatever the case is. But obviously, our playground is when technicals are the main mover, when fundamentals are not causing the moves, or at least in terms of how we understand things, when we don't see random stuff that's just happening, when we see technical chart patterns, all of those things, when we see those things being respected. And I feel like now the market is kind of switching. We're coming a little bit more back towards this side of of things. And I hope we stay on that side of things. But otherwise, let me round up the session. There was one question there about where to find chart patterns. Let me tell you, dude, that the easiest, the best place where you can learn about chart patterns and all of those things is for sure YouTube. YouTube, there's no secrets behind what chart patterns exist and all of that stuff. But when it comes down to trading those chart patterns, those are the one-on-one sessions that I host with whoever decides that they want to host one-on-one sessions with me. Those sessions obviously are not me teaching you what is an ascending structure, what is a descending structure, those types of things, because I would expect that you would know those types of things because they 100% there on YouTube and it's not confusing at all. But what I teach in a sense of when I host a one-on-one is I teach the process that I've then obviously discovered through experience. That's the only difference. So for chart patterns, man, definitely you'll find everything on YouTube. But if you wanted, your plan is to trade the things the same way that I'm trading them, then obviously that is my own personal subjective experience. But nonetheless, let me call it a session. We'll see you guys wherever you guys are. Telegram, Discord. Let there be peace in the streets. Let our brothers and sisters be safe. Cheers, guys.